Everybody ready? Here we go. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. Today is Tuesday, May the 7th, and this is a regular meeting of the Nashville Town Council. And for the record, the time is 7 o'clock. We'll move along as rapidly as we can. First item is approved minutes, of which we have three sections: Wednesday, March 27, and Friday, March 29, and Tuesday, April 2. Does the chair hear a motion the minutes will be approved as they're written, or are there corrections?
I move that we accept them as written.
Has a motion been made and seconded that the minutes be approved as written? Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Okay, the minutes are approved. Do we have a request for public comments? Okay, there's no request for public comments, so we'll move to our legislative agenda. First item under tab 4A is a consideration for proclamation for Kids to Park Day. This we have done for the last several years. For the past several years, the town of Nashville has recognized Kids to Parks Day, launched by the National Park Trust, encouraging families to be active and participate in activities taking place nationwide on the third Saturday each May. This year's Kids to Park Day will be held on May 18, 2019, and coincides with several activities sponsored locally by the town of Nashville Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department. The proclamation is attached, which I will read, then we'll ask for a motion to change it, to approve it. It says, Kids to Parks Day Proclamation. Whereas May 18, 2019 is the 9th Kids to Parks Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the third Saturday of May. And whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks. And whereas we should encourage children to lead more active lifestyles to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, mellitus, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. And now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Nashville does hereby proclaim to participate in Kids to Parks Day. We urge the residents of the Town of Nashville to make time on May 18, 2019 to take the children in their lives to neighborhood, state, or national park, adopted the 7th day of May 2019 with appropriate signatures and attestations. Does the chair hear a motion to approve the proclamation?
So made.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proclamation. Any discussion? If there being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The proclamation is approved. Okay, the second item is a presentation from the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources, an update. Marguerite, you got your stuff all written out and thought out? Okay. Will you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Marguerite Bishop, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department. So as you proclaim Saturday, May 18th, 2019 as Kids to Park Day for the town of Nashville, I want to take this opportunity to give a brief update on the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department. We are currently in the midst of our spring sports season with 230 participants and 20 teams. Participation is on par with last year's numbers. We held our first Creekside music event on Saturday, April 27th, with approximately 170 in attendance. Mark your calendars because our next Creekside music series will be held on Saturday, September 21st. In the fall, we had record participation in soccer with 22 teams. We have launched several new programs this year, including 2 family campouts, karate classes, and adult partner dancing with enrollment at or near capacity. At Glover Park, 3 new water fountains have been installed, one by the playground, one by the park entrance near Fellowship Christian Church, and one by the basketball court, making the park more enjoyable for all. We have continued to build partnerships within the community, working with Nashville United Methodist Church, Nashville Elementary School, Key Fitness, CrossFit Naos, Nashville Chamber of Commerce, and numerous sponsors as they help us facilitate programs, support programs, and co-host events. We are trying to wrap up our departmental survey, so if you have not had the chance to complete one, please take some time to tell us what you want to see from the department in the future. We need at least 500 participants so that we are eligible to apply for larger sources of grant funding in the future. The survey can be found on the town's website, the department's Facebook page, or a paper copy is available at Town Hall, or here tonight. They're pink. Pick one up and you can return it to Town Hall, and the ladies that work in the front will make sure that they get it back to me. Kids to Park Day on May 18th will be our last day of baseball, softball, and t-ball games for the regular season. So come on out and cheer on one of the 230 youth from the community. Then come back to Glover Park that night to enjoy the movie How to Train Your Dragon Under the Stars beginning at sundown. The movie will be preceded by planting snapdragons that you can take home. We are excited about the upcoming year and hope to continue to grow as a department and offer quality programs and facilities for our residents and those in the surrounding areas. I want to conclude by saying thank you to Council for your continued support of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department. None of this would be possible without you supporting us and finding value in what we do. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the update. And before you go away, on the next item, we're talking about the consideration of the establishment for the standards needed for the application to become a tree city. Would you
Yes.
have any comments on that before we move on?
If y'all have questions, I
Or
would.
just the summary of the issue we can work with here?
Okay.
I thought maybe you might have a big hit for it.
A lot of it we are already currently doing. So I know that the $2 per capita might be a sticking point with budgetary issues and everything. Staff hours can count. I did meet with the forester last Friday, and so a lot of the things that we are already doing, maintaining our parks and everything, do count for Tree City USA. And it also then opens us up to more grant funding. So it makes us eligible to be able to apply for grants that we aren't currently at the top of the pool for because we aren't currently a tree city. Forestry Service fully supports it. The Parks and Rec Advisory Board recommends it. So, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And moving along with that, the summary of the issue is that trees make our town a special place to live. They shade our homes, our businesses, and our streets. They clean our air and water, reduce stormwater runoff, increase our property values, reduce energy costs, and make our neighborhoods greener, safer, and healthier. Tree City USA recognition from the Arbor Day Foundation would highlight our commitment to urban forestry, community improvement, and civic pride. Your yearly application would require the establishment of a tree board. The Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Advisory Board could serve as this until one could be formed. The development of a tree ordinance, the support of a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. The PRCR budget proposed for fiscal year 19 and 20 already includes expenses for trees and tree care that would allow the town to meet the requirements of Standard 3 if approved. Being recognized as Tree City USA gives the town preference in several grants, including the, what's a TD? The Tree City Green Space Grant that awards $20,000 to $25,000 annually for green space infrastructure and expansion. So the considerations on the floor is for us to fill out an application to become a tree city. Does the chair hear a motion we approve this consideration?
I have a question. What does the $2 per capita translate into?
About $10,000. We've got 5,000 people in town. 10, 11,000.
But as Margarita already said, that we've already budgeted for that because it includes the staff that we already have doing what they're doing, their time, as well as maintenance of the park and things like that. So it's already included in our budget.
Okay,
Of course, that gets through 1 year,
Right,
but then you've got continuing cycles.
right.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that we're gonna have the same.
Yeah. Here we go. Wing it.
It also includes staff hours, volunteer hours, and we are already doing so invasive species work that we are working on at Stony Creek, trying to get control of the privet and open up some views onto Stony Creek and everything. Anything that we do volunteer hours, so the environmental club from Northern Nash High School, that counts. So there's dollars on actual manpower hours. So it doesn't have to be a budgeted amount.
Okay, so there's not a line item.
No, it is not a line item. No, ma'am.
Marguerite, how do you substantiate to them? How do they monitor that requirement?
How do you monitor?
How do they monitor
They will
it?
monitor it through reporting that I will take and give them a summary of how many staff hours, we've put in and how many volunteer events we've had, how many hours, how many volunteers participated, et cetera.
So based on what we're doing already, do we already meet that $2 per capita? Do we meet that, or how short do we fall?
Not very short. I mean, I think that we could take and we meet it, most likely. I have not looked directly at it, but we can count in some of the work that Public Works does with tree pruning. That counts into it also. So, and then anytime we send somebody to a landscaping workshop, that counts. And so Mark Mayo went to one of those. I know that Public Works, they go to those, that counts. So any of their continuing education when it comes to tree care, any tree care we do out in the cemetery, I would guess that we are right at it.
Well, I would think we really need to know just
Okay.
how close we are.
Okay, I can look into that.
Could we count any of the forestry services that Duke Power does when they come through working on trees?
I don't know, that would be a question for the forester, the forestry service, who would be helping with all of that.
Okay.
Do
So-
we contribute anything to this Tree City USA, or is it an association that requires dues, or?
No, there is no dues. We have to have an Arbor Day celebration, and that is just, it doesn't have to be on Arbor Day. It's a gathering. There's no dues or anything.
And this is about trees on public land.
Trees on public land. There's also some other grants out there to help trees on private land. You have to have then negotiate pieces of paper in place if you are planting trees on private land. So the Legacy Tree Fund would be a grant that's out there for that. We could work then with the school system for tree plantings on their land. Yes.
Several years ago, Duke Power came through and trimmed all the trees on Washington Street
Yes, ma'am.
and other places also, but it had to do with power lines and the chance of hurricanes and strong winds, and we all want our power. But there were a lot of complaints about that. Does this tie in with working with Duke? Should they come back?
I would have to further research that. I do not know how Duke plays into that. I think some of it probably has to do some with the ordinance and everything, but I would guess utilities probably poll rank in what they,
Yeah.
power's pretty important. So
Oh,
I
they're-
would guess they poll rank for public
Yeah.
safety
Oh,
issues.
they're right away. They do
Yes.
about what they want to.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Okay. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, the chair here, motion we approve this consideration.
So moved.
It's been moved, and is there a second?
There you go, second.
Second, and a second. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, we'll go for it. Okay, item number D. 4D is consideration of our public comment policy. The summary of the issue, at the regular town council meeting on April 2, 2019, the discussion took place around allowing a public comment period during the agenda meetings as well as during the regular meetings. The current policy regarding the public comments was approved by town council at the July 3, 2018 regular meeting and would need to be amended by a formal vote. Items 1 and 9 are those which would be amended in order to allow this change. A draft copy of the updated policy is attached, which all of you have read. It just includes on the days that the agenda meeting is going to happen too. There's only just a couple of words changed. Just a little background on this before we move with it. You understand, I'm a free speech person. I think people can talk all they want to, as long as it's controlled. But going back in time, way back in time, we had no policy at all. People came in. Some people got rather rowdy and out of control and wanted quick decisions, made very complex problems. So we started the program requiring people to register before time to speak and whatever the content was going to be so we get ready for it. And over time, we've got down now to where we signed up like we're doing. And we're moving now to include the second meeting because of the issue we had where people came at a wrong meeting, but they still wanted to talk. That's fine. So that's where we are. With all that said and done, The chair here motion, we approve the issue.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, there being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, no problem there. Okay, item number E, the consideration of a fine-free summer reading program. Before we move with this, I'd like to ask our librarian to come up and explain the libraryese in the letter, in the document, if you would.
Okay, I'm Emily Enderly, the library director here in Nashville. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. So last May, Braswell Memorial went fine-free for all of their juvenile and young adult materials. That means that when someone checks out a book for a young person, they are not required to pay overdue fines if they keep it over. This does not affect the lost item charges. If you lose it, you pay for it. They've had great success with their program, and it's part of a nationwide movement to try and equalize access to library materials to the children of people with lower incomes. The account can still be blocked from checking out if you have overdues. Some libraries are arguing that charging fines is twice the necessary punishment because you can block their account if they have an overdue. Let's see, reports nationwide have been overwhelmingly positive. They're saying that books are being checked out more, that they're actually having less overdues. And also the positive public image of the library is on the rise now. We do have a negative image in the community oftentimes because of charges. I prefer to run my own study on this issue. I want to see how our community would react to this possibility. And so I'd like to do a 2-month study over the summer reading program and have juvenile and young adult materials go fine-free just for the months of June and July. I've asked a representative from the Cardinal Consortium and the State Library to help me in tracking the statistics that would be necessary for running this report for this study. And going fine-free for those materials would not affect any existing charges. Those charges would stay on the account. Anything that was on there before June 1st would stay on there. And the regular fine schedule would resume August 1st. Also, there would be no change to the existing charges for lost materials as well. The going fine-free actually wouldn't affect lost material charges at all. Does that answer your questions?
From reading this, I sort of got the feeling that you were working a study between the occurrence of overdues and a free period to see whether there was less delay of material coming in the free period than there was in the fine period. Is it this way I understand it?
Right, that's what the reports would run. They would check how often things are overdue when they are fine-free versus when they are charged fines to see if there's any difference.
Yeah, this is a comparison study
Mm-hmm.
with dependent variable and all these kinds of things. Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay, all right.
So I have a few questions.
Okay.
Well, okay, hold on. Now, before we go to that, let's get a motion to discuss. The chair here motion, we approve the free summer reading program.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there discussion?
Yes, so I have a couple of questions. One
Yes,
has
ma'am.
to do with those libraries that have already gone fine-free.
Mhm.
What's their cap? Is it 20 days after the book is taken out, 45 days after the book is taken out? Like, when do you call it and say, this person's not returning this book? We need to say it's lost, stolen.
Currently, it's for the Cardinal Consortium, 45 days is when it is marked as lost.
Okay. And in that case, they would have to pay the lost book fee?
Yes.
And what is a lost book fee for us?
It is the cost of the purchasing a new copy.
Okay. So, going towards what the fees are,
Mhm.
when I was late that one time, my kids keep books all the time, and I'm sometimes late, the 25-cent fee
Mhm.
does seem a little bit higher than any fee I've ever been charged up in New York, Durham, anywhere else.
Okay.
Have we ever considered going down to like a 10-cent fee for juvenile books to see if that would increase? taking books out,
honestly,
or-
I haven't considered it.
Okay. And then as far as the $50 that we charge, I think is the cap on the late fee, right? So we charge
no.
25-cent late fee up to what amount?
No, the cap for the late fees is up to the amount of replacing the
I
item.
thought I read in the fee schedule that it was something
That's
astronomical.
one of the
$50
changes.
With the water fund,
Lake water.
lake
Oh,
water.
am I confusing the two? I really thought it was something, okay, so it's just the cost of the replacement cost of the item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
and so that way, it just goes into lost status at that
Okay.
point. Yeah.
So, I think this is a good idea to do the study. I still don't like the idea of going completely fine-free.
I know, that's why I want to do a study. I'm
Right.
not sold on the idea,
But
but
I
I want
do,
to
I would like to investigate maybe lowering the fine for juvenile books,
Mm-hmm.
for kids' books, to see if maybe that would increase people taking books out and decrease the late.
Okay, I would do that research.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Those are my only questions.
Yeah,
Thank you, Emily.
thanks.
You know, as for fine free, just to make a comment, and when I was working at Nash Community College, which has been ages ago, they had a lot of stuff from the library out, overdue and all that sort of stuff, and they had a month of no fine return stuff, and had this huge box outside, a mailbox thing like we have here, and that thing filled up almost every day with stuff coming back. Nobody wanted to come inside. But they'd come back blind, they put the stuff in, they got a lot of stuff back, but anyway. Okay, with any further discussion? We have a motion and a second and complete discussion. There being nothing further, all in favor of the consideration indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, there we go. Okay, item F is a financial thing where they're requesting authority to amend the Parks and Recreation Department budget to recognize the receipt of new funding from the Nash Arts Council grassroots program to allocate the funds to meet department needs. And we received $3,300 for this, and it's money coming in, which goes into our operation budget. Does the chair hear a motion we approve this consideration?
So
So
made.
Been moved, and
Second.
is there a second? That we approve the budget amendment. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, item number 5. Okay, Mr. Manager, you're on.
Mayor, members of council, we have several budget amendments that we have done internally. The first is we've moved money from the health insurance and administration budget over $12,000, and that's, $12,000, $5,000 of which is for the manager's move, $2,000 for some capital, and the capital, which is chairs, the part of the chairs that are
These
going to
chairs.
be replaced in here,
Thank goodness.
and the balance is to move the money over to travel education that is being used to pay some expenses
Right.
for the interim positions.
This is coming out of this year's budget, not pre-spending in the next
Yes.
year.
That's
Okay,
it.
very good.
On the following page, in the library, there's some year-end expenditures that our director wanted to purchase, so we moved some money around to give her the flexibility to buy some materials.
Right.
Under fire, we moved some money out of capital outlay or into capital outlay to allow for the purchase of an e-hydraulic tool that will replace the one that was borrowed from Moyer. We borrowed from Moyer Fire Department. They wanted theirs back, so we didn't have one.
That's Momar.
Momire, I'm sorry. I'm in the short road.
You're from a different culture.
Yeah. Ironically, I'm not heading back to Johnson County, so I could probably do it. And the same thing is true on the last page on our library general fund. We've moved some money to help purchase those books.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's all administrative
That's
work. Okay. All right, we're down to council comments. Mr. Taylor, comments?
No comments tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Mother, Mr. Taylor?
No comments.
Ms. Sutton?
No comment.
Kate?
No comment tonight.
Okay. And I got no comments. Okay, next item, we need to have a motion for going to closed session
Motion we go into closed session?
to concern some real estate discussion. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11?
I made it.
There's a motion.
It's been made.
You made it? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Yeah, I will. All in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Again, yes.
Opposed, no.
Catch up with us, Mayor.
He was talking, everybody
I
was
was trying to
Accordingly, we're in closed session. You're free to stay. This won't take but just a few minutes, but there's going to be no decisions made, just an information issues. But we should be through in just a few minutes, if all goes well. All right, let's retire to the closed room. Could you bring us map, please? Okay.